Welcome to Under the Sun podcast. I'm Ilea.
And I'm Irene. Grab a cup of coffee and your comfiest sweats and join us every Monday as two best friends discuss everything from raising free-range gremlins to business and really everything under the sun.
Let's get started and thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You have purple hair now.
I do. That'll probably change a lot. Don't get used to it.
Yeah.
Remember when I was going to be natural until my hair was like down to my waist?
Yeah.
And then I went to a hair show.
That's why you didn't tell me.
Well, I also went to a hair show and there's I don't know, several thousand hairstylists walking around. And then we all came back and now all have there's maybe two of us here that don't have something crazy in their hair. So don't go to anything inspirational unless you want to come back and change your whole look.
I also don't think I've ever seen you in red.
Also, it's for today's topic. I don't buy red, but it was $3. And for today's topic of choice.
Oh, I get it.
This is also not fitting me, but for $3.
Here, pull your necklace out top.
Welcome
There.
to our conversation on periods.
I love that. I was like, I've never seen you in red.
I know. I don't wear it often, but
It looks nice.
thanks.
It looks nice with your skin
It's
tone.
very showy. And I like to just wear black and blend into my surroundings all the time.
That's a new thing.
That's a new thing.
You used to be
It's probably
very
a distress thing, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But
What would get you out of distress?
riding horses in Wyoming.
Okay. I mean, that's what we are going to go do. So by the
Yes.
time you're seeing this episode, we're probably either in Wyoming or just getting
Yeah.
back from Wyoming.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, actually. I think
you have a pencil and everything. I love it.
It might be a hairstylist thing, though, because when you're going through cosmetology school, you have to wear all black. So for a year, I wore all black. And then typically salon dress codes, if they're at like a fancier salon, is black and white only. So then my closet slowly went from like hot pink to black, and now it's all black. And when I try to put color on, I'm like, oh, what's happening? So I'm going to work on coloring up my wardrobe again.
I'm trying to like more pastels, you know,
Yeah.
and not so like, because I kind of went from like, oh, I have just a whole bunch of clothes that I feel guilty that I purchased, so I just keep them, and they're kind of like screaming at me in the closet, basically because I have a postpartum body. It's either like, oh, I don't fit you anymore, even though like technically I'm the same, actually way less than pre-pregnancy, but my body shape is just different. Like my pants.
Yeah.
My hips ain't going in those.
I finally threw away because I had some like pants that were just a little bit too small that I was like, one day I'm going to fit into these. But that was pre-baby one day.
Yeah.
And it's the same. Like I'm still in the same size pant, but there's no way my hips are ever going to drop down a size. So
Have you heard, there's a and a YouTuber that I listen to called The Minimal Mom. And she talks about like what your clothes are telling you and what silent to-do lists are happening around your house. Like basically, oh, I bought this piece of fabric that I was going to make a skirt out of 6 months ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's always telling me, oh, you didn't follow through on that. Oh, you didn't finish it. Another thing you didn't finish. And she was like, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you bought it for $5, but it's actually causing you more costing you mentally versus the $5 that you spent on it. So that's how I was able to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And my clothes that weren't serving me anymore.
Yeah.
Because like we were performing all the time.
I was
like,
just thinking about a performance shirt I had, that like blue Hawaiian one. I finally threw that away because it was pre-baby. It's shorter midriff. It's Hawaiian. I almost thought about it for the cruise, but it's like, I'm not going to wear that even if we're on the cruise. So why am I holding on to it?
Yeah,
But,
let it go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you for getting rid of those.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
You too for cleaning out all your craft stuff, because I know.
I have like almost no craft stuff anymore.
That's awesome.
I used to have a whole closet full and I still enjoy it. And it's just not the season that I'm in. And I inherited a whole bunch from my grandma, which is all lovely. And in that time of grief, I really needed to have that stuff to like remind me of her. But keeping her stuff doesn't change the fact that she's gone.
Yeah.
And then it also causes me stress to have a whole bunch of stuff that is telling me I need to get to it. And even though I don't have the bandwidth to get to it. So I kept like a few, like the handmade buttons she made and then some fabric that just reminds me of her. And then everything else I got rid of.
All the important stuff that actually is emotionally beneficial versus emotionally draining.
Yeah, there was a note on a bag that says like, this is for Ilea. And so I saved the note and then the bag just is like storage.
Yeah.
So anyways, but how do we get on that topic?
I don't remember.
Squirrel.
Oh, because my red shirt. Because today we're talking about periods. What is normal and what is not. We have a lot of opinions. Thing number one about periods, painful periods are not normal. So the two of us both had completely different hormonal, what is the word I'm looking for? Coming into becoming a woman. Both completely different. Yours, you said you could clock up to like almost what hour in the night it was going to start.
It was always
mine,
2 to 3 a.m.
Yeah. And like the exact day you thought, right?
Oh, yeah.
Never had cramps.
No.
I would be like, had such bad cramps that I would just lay on the ground crying and puking because the pain was so extreme. And I had cycles anywhere from 28 days to 40 something days to I had 1 year where I had all the symptoms every month of a period, but I think I only actually bled like 3 or 4 times. And then of course, go to the doctor. They say, oh, well, we don't know why that's happening. It just happens to some people. Here's some birth control. It'll level it out. And yeah, that's a red flag. If your provider's like, we don't know why that's happening, then maybe dig a little deeper, change providers.
Yeah, here's a little tip for you. You're never deficient in birth control. Like the reason your body is screaming that, like truly the reason your cycles was probably a progesterone. Like for sure. It was either too much, too little, or not, or irregular all the time and was throwing your body off. Yeah. Why doctors don't go towards the root cause and try to, make your life a little easier instead of being like, here's a pill that you'll take until.
Yeah. And thankfully, I don't remember how old I was when I did that, but I know that I was just so miserable and in so much pain that when I ended up taking it, I think I only took it for 3 months of I'm 33. My entire life, I've only taken birth control for 3 months. And partially because I think felt like I was 17 or something. And of course, when you're 17, the last thing you want to think about is kids, especially when you're the oldest of 5 children and you're always with kids. But she said to me during that appointment, she's like, we don't know why you're only bleeding a few times a year. You're probably not ovulating. Just to put it in your head, you're probably never going to have kids. So that was always in the back of my brain from a 17-year-old. And I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, which we've said multiple times before, but I should have been able to trust that this woman had my best interest in heart, and maybe in her own way she did, but doubt it. But giving someone birth control, yes, it causes you to like bleed once a month, quote unquote, if you're listening, I'm air quoting. But that's not a real period. That's an artificial period. You're not actually ovulating. It's not fixing anything. It's just causing your body to mimic the symptoms of a cycle, and your hormones could still be all over the place. So thankfully it was making me just feel sick, and I had unknowingly had celiac all along. So from someone who was already pretty sick chronically all the time, like it made me that sick that I stopped after 3 months, and then come to find out that's the one that was causing young girls to have strokes. So glad I only took that for 3 months. Glad I didn't have that much of it in my system. But
yeah. But they didn't tell you that.
No, they didn't tell me. They didn't give me any of the warnings. They just said, here, this will give you a period every month. And I was like, great, I can finally stop. Like there was one time I probably wore a pad every day for a month to school because like I was cramping for a month and just hadn't bled in several months. And I'm like, well, I would rather die at that point than be caught at school in high school in my period. And I remember being so annoyed that my friends could just go to school in cute clothes and I'm panicking every day and wasting money on pads and all the chemicals that are sitting in that are just
seeping in your hoo-ha.
Seeping in, yeah. So
that's so sad because periods are not supposed to be painful.
No.
And you don't realize how blessed you are until it's that bad, or or you hear someone else's story.
Yeah.
But there's like, I'm on the journey now of like learning how to balance my hormones again after having a kid and having my first cycle from having since having a baby, which is crazy. But I learned something actually in preparation for this podcast that because you have had spotting before your period, is actually not your period. That is leftover blood from the previous month cycle that didn't shed all the way.
Interesting.
So that's why it's usually a brown color. Yeah. And your period should never be, I'm sure you'll get into this, but the period should never be brown or black or whatever. And there shouldn't be clots. It should be bright red. And it should only last for like 3 to 4 days. Yeah. But I think all of our hormones are just so inundated with toxins and environmental things that we don't even know what a good cycle is anymore.
Well, and I know there's going to be a lot of people out there saying like, well, I have PCOS or I have endometriosis. And yes, those are instances where your cycles will be magnified and worse, but endometriosis is not the cause. That's the effect of something in your system being off that causes endometriosis, that causes bad periods.
Yep.
And so it's really all about getting to the root cause, which we've been following this YouTuber for years and years, because she has a very holistic channel, very clean, everything, food, lifestyle. And she basically, it's been a few years since it happened, but did she get a cervical cancer diagnosis, or she
got a SIN3, so like one stage before cervical cancer.
Yeah. And despite everyone saying there's nothing you can do, you'll probably never have kids, she now has 2 kids, healed it herself with the help of, experienced people, technicians, herbalists. I almost said herbologist. It's a plant. It's a plant person. But same thing. So
no, like working with like a holistic medicine doctor and and knowing your body. Like it infuriates me that you have that experience as a 17-year-old as having a doctor say, oh, you'll probably never have kids.
Yeah.
And my cycles were fine. I just went in because my family we never did doctors. We did, mom had a herb book that if something was really off, we went to that. But like, you're a kid, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But when I was like 19, I was like, oh, I'm going to go get like a pap smear because like that's what you're supposed to do. Like I'm going to be an
Cosmo
adult.
magazine says to get a pap smear.
Yeah. So I'm going to go get it. And so I got it, and the cells came back abnormal, and then they it's a long story short, but they misdiagnosed me with cervical cancer. Like not
at such a young age.
At 19. So, and I knew I didn't have the finances to do it. And I was like, I know my parents don't have the finances to like put their kid through cancer treatment. And so I was like, well, I'll just, I guess I'll have to cure myself. And long story short, it was a misdiagnosis. But they, during that like conversation, I was like, well, what can I do? Like, is there anything I can eat? Anything I can do to like support my body? And she was like, no, not really. We can put you on birth control that will help mitigate some of the risk. And I was like, and I don't know why I had that discernment at 19 years old to be like, no, no, why would I go on birth control to help like cancer cells? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Then we kind of got in a back and forth, and it ended with her saying, well, you'll be coming, it ended with her saying, you're going to crawl back here begging for me to help you get pregnant later in life. And I was like, over my dead body. And I know everyone's journey is different, and I'm not saying I did anything right. But I fought for myself at 19, and I've been fighting ever since, and I healed my body and got pregnant fairly easily. And because I didn't listen to some doctor, and she was female. Like you would think a lot of people like, oh, but she's she's my girl. She looks out for me. It's like, does she? Or does she get a commission on your birth control?
Yeah. Can we please just address older generation? And I feel like as much as we hate to think it, you and I are kind of creeping up in that older generation. But really, someone who's 17, which I'm hoping that we're young enough that we can maybe be helpful to like a 15, 16, 17-year-old girl, that please stop speaking negative things, either to young moms that are pregnant, like stop saying, oh, you're pregnant. Never do
Here's this traumatic thing that happened to me. Or I had a friend who had a home birth and she died. And I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah. And we'll do a post on this eventually too. We're not anti-medicine. Like if you don't know what's wrong with you, go get the test done to figure out exactly what it is, and maybe get a second opinion because you can get misdiagnosed.
Yes.
But once you figure out at least what's going on, like, oh, I found out I have endometriosis. Okay, what does that mean?
Yes.
Start taking some time doing some research, looking all that up.
Become your own specialist.
Yes.
Because nobody's going to fight for your health like you're going to fight for your health, because you have to live it day in and day out.
Yeah.
They don't. And like everything is on a scale with them. It's like, oh, your numbers need to be within 5 to 300. And it's like, well, am I closer to 299? Am I about to tip over the edge of like, full on thyroid disorder? What is it?
Yeah.
They don't really care until it's causing a huge issue. And PCOS, endometriosis is all like an inflammatory response, a symptom of something deeper.
Right.
That you have to fight for yourself to learn that information.
Yeah. And there is a certain spot, if left untreated, can get to a point where you need medical intervention.
Sure.
Like Bindi Irwin just had a big surgery. Did you see?
Yeah.
And hers was so bad. Her ovaries, I'm going to say this wrong because I don't have the condition, so I don't know. Everything was really scarred over. And the key in that point is to try to stop it before it gets to that point, which I'm thankful that my health journey led me in the way to start healing myself, because I feel like maybe because she's been at my house once. I woke up at 3 a.m. and was just laying in the bathroom crying and puking because it hurt so bad. And I feel like had I not addressed it, now half the time my period does catch me off guard because
oh, that's awesome.
I don't really cramp that much. I should know because like I feel like if I don't have nachos, I'm going to die. But like from a other physical standpoint, I really don't. Every once in a while I'll get like a little uncomfortable. But ever since things have leveled out, it's been super helpful.
What do you think caused that?
I think just years of I did a deep cellular detox before I got pregnant with my first. I went full paleo partially to like heal my gut lining from the celiac. And I think my hormones leveled as a byproduct of me focusing so much on healing my guts.
See, that's...
So once the digestive system was functional, the hormones fixed themselves.
Yeah.
Which I will say something interesting. I don't know if I've texted you about it. I think I might have texted you about it, but lately, off and on the last 6 months or so, I'll have a period and then I'll be fine. And then a week later, I'll start spotting again. It's not brown. It's all fresh blood and it's very confusing. So I have that small panic. I'm like, oh no, is it implantation bleeding? Which I wouldn't care, but also I'm so tired. But it just it doesn't feel like, oh, there's a baby. It feels weird. And I've had the thought, like maybe I'll at least go to the doctor to figure out what it is and then fix it myself. But I need someone to tell me what it is so I know where to go. But as I've
just run after get more of your gut balanced.
Well, as I've been digging deeper into my thyroid, because I can tell like my left eyebrows, like all the telltale symptoms where if you know what to look for, I've been doing this long enough, I know what to look for with my own body, but like my hair has been thinning, my eyebrow has started thinning, and the left eyebrow thinning is a sign that your thyroid's wonky. And while doing a deep dive again, because you learn all these things, you heal it, and then you move on to another season of life and you kind of forget what you learned. And then that condition comes back. You got to pivot back. In looking into that, low thyroid causes low progesterone, which causes mid-cycle bleeding, which causes your hormones to be off, which causes hair loss. So there's a lot more packed into that with ferritin levels, iron levels. But now I know, like, I don't feel like I need to go in and get it checked. I feel like I know where to go. I know where to pivot. And if I pivot and I focus on my gut health and I focus on my thyroid and I focus on getting my progesterone levels up, I need to do man, was this in that podcast that we lost audio to where I was saying I need a turtleneck and then we said I need one of those dickies to sleep in? Did it? Okay, good. Yes, I need to get a dickie, but an organic cotton one to slather the castor oil on my thyroid. But if that doesn't resolve itself and I get internal like gut feelings of something is really, really wrong, then I'm not opposed to going in and getting it checked. However, I don't feel like I need to go in every 2 minutes. But
here's the thing. Hospitals, doctors, traditional medicine, not traditional medicine, Western medicine has a place for sure. And we need them in emergencies or when we can't figure it out ourselves, but or hire proper like natural root cause medicine physicians and practitioners to help us. But doctors have a place. It's not like we hate them. Yeah. It's just, I think we can all agree that we know somebody who has either been misdiagnosed, wasn't listened to, overprescribed, basically almost lost their life to being overprescribed. There's so many scenarios. We just need to, I think we need to reel in the whole, trust your doctor. Yeah. Because not all doctors are worthy of all your trust. Yeah. And you have your body, your body better than I do and better than a doctor. And you can, if there's something usually people who have a really intense diagnosis know I kind of saw this coming. Yeah. That's when you go, that's when you, or before that, hopefully, and get advice. But yeah. And in this season of life where I have 2 toddlers, a business I'm trying to run, there have been several days where my entire diet was coffee and candy and minimal water, minimal food. I know better. So when all these symptoms happen, I'm not surprised. I knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of how long can I push this before I crash and I have to, level myself out again. But yeah. Stop eating candy. I ate some before we came down. Whoops. But there's no corn in it. I actually wrote in my little... That doesn't make it better. Did I even eat today? I forget. And that's one of the things with thyroid. I know. Is you have to eat breakfast. And
half the time I don't, which I know better. Do I eat it? No,
just
but I
keep
know better.
hard-boiled eggs and just throw an egg in
what
your
I
mouth.
can't do? Keep hard-boiled eggs in my house, because the second I like open the wrapper, my 2-year-old pops around the corner. I need an egg, and she will eat 6 hard-boiled eggs in a morning if I let her. She also downed an entire jar of pickles yesterday. So there goes my brand new jar of pickles. Food? I can also sneak downstairs without her, but
yeah,
I could just hear her at the top of the stairs. I need an egg.
Irene, I love you. You're to be the best mom and the best. Yeah. For Irene, you have to prioritize yourself a little bit.
Get my own oxygen mask.
Yeah.
But
you have to put your oxygen on yourself before you can keep your...
Listen, we didn't say we're perfect. We try.
No, that's the thing is... So I've had lots of messages about people being like, oh, like, what do I do for this holistic thing? And I'm like, what? Like, I'm on this journey too. And I'm just like a mom trying to do, like, literally just trying to do my best.
Yeah.
And, sometimes... Like now my compromise is like we eat out paper plates like every day. And I'm like, there's just a season. Not everything needs to happen in one season. And like right now, it's a slow process of prioritizing your mental health, your kids' mental health, your husband's, and then your also physical health.
Yeah.
And
with periods, they didn't used to be this all over the place. There didn't used to be... Yes, there were some cases of, I'm sure, back in the day, PCOS, whatever, things like that. It didn't used to be this rampant that everyone because when you're growing up, your closest friends are who you bounce everything off of.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, if you have a painful period, you're not the odd one in the group. It's like, oh yeah, that happens to me. Oh yeah, this happens to me, or this happens to my mom, and now it's normal. Well, I don't know if you know about the tap water thing. But I found an excerpt. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah. My brain is not well nourished right now.
It's because you had candy before you came down here, Irene. We're like,
true.
Health. Also, candy, I had candy for lunch.
Balance, 80-20. So this is an article I found on the scientificamerican.com, and I will link it, but it's on the birth control.
We actually have to link it because we keep forgetting to link things.
I underlined it in blue so I would remember.
Someone called us on it and sent us a message and said, can you link these things? You said you do it. And I was like,
that's my job. That's my job.
Okay.
But it's on the effects and how much birth control is in tap water. And
buy a Berkey.
Everyone's getting microdosed with artificial estrogens. And I feel like that's what's causing a lot of the issues. And this article says, I kind of chopped up the important parts, and I'll link it if you want to read the full thing, but it says, from the scientificamerican.com, in 2008, the U.S. Geological Survey tested water in 9 states across the country and found that 85 man-made chemicals, including some medications, were commonly slipping through municipal treatment systems and ending up in our tap water. Another report by the Associated Press found trace amounts of dozens of pharmaceuticals in the drinking water supplies of some 46 million Americans. Researchers have found evidence that even extremely diluted concentrations of the drug residues harm fish, frogs, and other aquatic species, and have been shown to labs to impair human cell function. One of the common culprits is estrogen, much of which is inadvertently released into the sewers through the urine of women taking birth control. Studies have shown that estrogen can wreak reproductive havoc on some fish, which spawn infertile offspring, supporting a mixture of male and female parts.
Jeez.
Researchers at the University of Pittsburgh found that human breast cancer cells grew twice as fast when exposed to estrogen taken from catfish caught near untreated sewage overflows. There is the potential for an increased risk for those people who are prone to estrogenic cancer. Estrogen, yes, I don't know. Words are hard. What may be more troubling is the mixture of contaminants and how they might interact to cause health problems. The biggest concern is the stew effect. Trace amounts of this mixed with trace amounts of that can equal what? We don't know. And so even if you think, well, I'm not on birth control, it's one of those things where you're not going to get away from chemicals, but what can you do to minimize it? Mm-hmm. And like, we don't drink tap water. Actually, I was on the phone earlier and I heard my nephew yelling on speakerphone to my phone, stop doing that. And when my husband was like, what is he doing? He's like, he's drinking pool water. And I'm like, get him away from the pool water.
Gross.
But what do I drank from a hose all the time as a kid. Yeah. But that is terrifying, the stew effect. I never had thought about that. But
yeah,
like, yes, you might be fine if you drink tap water your whole life. But as it said in the article, someone that is more prone to estrogen-based, not just cancers, but like
It also is said to
PMS
turn off your
symptoms.
third eye, like your intuition, your discernment is if you drink heavy tap water, because there's so many toxins in it that it basically makes you just a little zombie.
I don't even brush my teeth with our tap water because it's so strong at the house. I don't let my kids drink. I don't let my kids brush their teeth with the tap water.
Wow.
So we go through a lot of water at our house, but better that than...
Yeah. We're about to buy a Berkey.
I want one so badly.
That's my, well, we've been having water delivered for a long time, but now since all those train derailments, I'm like, I don't know where this water is coming from.
Yeah.
So we are investing in a Berkey instead of it'll be like, instead of the monthly fee of having water delivered, we're just going to justify it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That would pay
insane.
for itself in like 3 months.
Yes, it would. But there are replacement filters, but...
Yeah. But like the Brita filters, which I had when I was starting my health journey, I would put tap water through a Brita thinking I was doing great, and that's not really doing anything. So it's another thing just to research. But
maybe that's a episode we should do on we should do a practical analysis, or take people's research on the Brita versus the Berkey versus something else to or alkaline water.
Yeah.
There's a machine that is supposedly if you drink from this machine, it's like the, I don't know, fountain of life type thing. But it's so alkaline that it can reduce cancer cells by 80% or something.
That's amazing.
But yeah, that's wild.
Yes.
Well, I guess we're going to get our own affiliate. We're working with a brand called BioRay right now to get a code for our brand, Under the Sun podcast. We technically have one, but it's logistics. Doesn't matter. But you can use UTSP 10 if you want to do a detox.
Yeah. They're very helpful. Don't they have, I think if you fill out the questionnaire, they actually call you and say, hey, this is probably what you need. Yeah. There's a thing on their website. It's on BioRay, and you tell them your age, symptoms that you're having, and then they have a questionnaire, and then they either they call you, because I think I got an email. I can't remember. I filled out most of it before you had gotten your code. Yeah. That was a couple months ago. And then I was like, oh, I have to talk to someone. I can't do that right now because I was busy. But yeah, I remember thinking that's great that when I am ready and have the time to talk to someone, they're not just going to let you buy the supplements and good luck. Yeah. Hope you know what you're doing. They'll actually kind of put a protocol together for you. It's all herbal tinctures too. Yeah. They have a great kids line. Leo's eyes are not as dark anymore. Good. And she's back to babbling like she was before we moved into our moldy house. Yeah. But we'll get that all situated because we're trying to get them to be a sponsor for the podcast. But until then, you can use code UTSP10. Yeah. Woohoo. But on the period note, if you are younger and think, well, how am I going to detox myself? I'm 15. I don't know what I'm doing. There are some comfort measures and some things you can do starting out. So I don't know if you want to talk to castor oil packs because I don't have as much knowledge in those. Yeah. Castor oil is the most penetrating oil out there ever. And so it can penetrate through all layers of the skin and get to the organ. So if you're having period cramps or period problems at all, or thyroid issues, really, you're having liver issues, anything, the cheap way is just get 100% pure castor oil. I think it's unpressed or uncompressed or something. And then you can rub it on your stomach and then just go about your day. It does stain your clothes. So wear a crop top that day, I guess. I don't know. Or you can get a piece of flannel and kind of wrap it around your abdomen and or liver or thyroid or whatever. Or you can order, there's a brand called Queen of Thrones that has a wrap. And we'll link. We should try to get. We should try to get a code from her. Yes, we should. Podcast topic, but we'll link Amazon. I know Queen of Thrones sells her stuff on Amazon too. Okay, so we'll link the Amazon for the castor oil pack, as well as my favorite castor oil. One of them is Sky Organics. Okay, which I had been purchasing their products for a while, and they now sell them at Walmart. So if you want to be able to just go quickly get some good quality organic castor oil, I do think it's in a plastic jar. Yeah, glass jar is important, but baby steps, type of thing. Yeah. Another thing you can do is just heating pads are a big thing in my Mexican family's household. So heating pads everywhere. Those were helpful on days when I couldn't move. Yeah. Dandelion root tea is good for root cause, gentle detoxification. Yeah. And
nettle leaf tea and milk thistle are all hormone supporting teas. So
red raspberry will help your uterus contract. So if you are noticing like in between periods, you're getting the brown spotting, a red raspberry leaf tea will help your uterus basically squeeze out all the blood so it's not hanging out in there. Another thing, if you're desperate, it's difficult because it took a lot of years. It wasn't just overnight. The pain and the vomiting were gone. It took a long time for my body to adjust. So in the meantime, like we keep saying, we're not anti-pharmaceuticals when they're important, but we just had someone on our podcast recently, a home birth midwife, Amy. And something I learned from her is that ibuprofen is better for body pain and acetaminophen is better for headache pain. So try your best to find one that's aluminum free, food coloring free. But if you're at the point where you're on the floor crying and don't have the energy to even figure out how to help yourself, last case scenario, I'd go with ibuprofen because it will do more body than
But
head.
I would argue at least take a glutathione supplement in like for every pill you take, you should take glutathione. Yeah. Because like it depletes it and it will make a lot of things way worse. Yeah. Curcumin is also, what's the word I'm looking for? Anti-inflammatory, like a pain. It's a pain. Yeah. It's a natural painkiller.
Yeah.
Curcumin's good, but
if you're weighing out the balance, because I've tried the Curcumin when I'm on the ground puking and it isn't quite strong enough. But it's one of those things where you have to weigh out what's going to be better for you. If you're this is a long conversation that I don't know that I want to open up right now, but
do the summary.
The summary is, let me think of how to say this. If you're so empty and exhausted and you need some help to get the engine going, do the bare minimum. If the capsule says, oh, take 1 to 3, take 1. You don't need to jump to 3. Do the minimum. It may not cut 100% of the discomfort out, but if it gets you a little bit less, like I won't, if I have to take anything for anything, I won't even go higher than children's Tylenol, children's whatever. But like last 2 weeks ago, I closed my finger on the car door and that was not fun.
No.
And I have an extremely high pain tolerance and I took ibuprofen for 2 days because the
throbbing
Coumarin wasn't touching it. But I still took the bare minimum and I took child's doses. I even think that someone suggested, take 800 milligrams every 6 hours. And I think I took 2 every 8 hours. Like take the bare minimum, be a little bit stronger, tough it out just to get you off the ground, off the bathroom floor. And then when you have your energy back, make better choices when you can.
Yeah.
But then again, I do supplement significantly.
Do you need some glutathione supplement?
Probably.
Because like that will, I mean, if your glutathione's depleted and you're already like exhausted, it's just going to, I mean, it's a catch-22. It's like, it cuts the pain, but also like then it's going to make you sleepier again, like and exhausted. So it's just balance. Like you can't 80-20, 80% of the time you do the best you can, then 20% you have, so I'm trying to think of something very cotton candy. I don't know.
Yes.
Man,
that good fair cotton candy.
Man, it's good. But it's just balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knowing, like I knew, okay, I'm taking Tylenol, my gut's going to be upset. Tighten up this. I actually didn't eat a lot of candy those days because I knew my guts were going to be a little something. Lots of minerals, lots of things to try to replenish.
When are you going to do a parasite cleanse?
When I start pooping more than once a week.
Okay.
When I stop eating candy and when I make better choices.
Are we going to do a sugar detox together?
Probably, but actually I can do it this summer. I try to balance those out from, like I've done it in January enough times, like January 1st, and that's always fine because it's winter and I don't, I need something to like challenge me at that point. But then my birthday's on the 18th and I'm like, well, I'm not going to get to 18 days and then like blow it the last 3, but I'm not going to get to my birthday and not. I've done it twice where I've gone past my birthday without snacks, but I feel like from January to May, someone's birthday.
Yeah.
And then like June on, there's a couple birthdays, but not as many that I feel missing out on the fun.
We should do that. We should do a sugar detox and then follow it with a anti-parasitic.
Okay. as long as you do it before the cruise, because I'm going to eat ice cream every day. And
Amen.
that's going to flip the 80-20 and it'll be 20-80, but it's a cruise and it's ice cream.
So something we have not mentioned yet, but we are going on a cruise.
Woohoo.
Under the Sun takes on the sea. That's so lame.
I'm here for it.
We're going to make t-shirts.
Yes.
Both of our, like her kids, her husband, my kid, and my parents were all going on a cruise. So
yeah.
I need to stop.
I'm fine doing the t-shirts because I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you would have told 19-year-old, 17-year-old me I was going to make matching family shirts, I would have been mortified. But aside from the fact that I'm old and I don't care what people think about me,
you have to teach me how to dance.
Done. I have 2 hours of us trying to learn the This Is Me dance in the basement of the studio. It's terrible, but it's one of my favorite videos.
I'm so bad. I have no hand-eye coordination.
I'm surprised you don't, since you can play instruments so well.
I can't play instruments so well.
You can.
But you're going to make shirts.
Yes.
Sorry.
Because it's a great idea. Even like we're going on a trip with my parents in a week or so.
Yeah.
And we're making really obnoxious colored matching family shirts because if one of my toddlers books it and I happen to be looking at the other toddler, I need to be able to say, like, yell, everybody look for a kid wearing this shirt.
Yeah. Yellow shirt, brown hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should do a podcast. I'm going to write that down because we always say things in the podcast and then I forget about them. But a podcast on like
y'all have to hold us accountable and be like, hey,
like,
you said you would do a podcast on this. Now do it.
On like motherhood, children's safety.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of thoughts on that too.
Yeah. We're considering / almost decided. I don't think we're going to post Leo anymore.
We just decided the same thing.
Interesting timing.
I was going to tell you that this week and then we just haven't, but I think we're done posting our kids too because.
Yeah. We're still going to like, I vlog and you're going to start vlogging again, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. I'm going to have her in it, but I think I'm just going to blur her face.
I kind of like when people just do back of the head posts.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. Back of the head or like cuddling, like I still want, that's very much part of my identity now is like my motherhood journey because it's such a wonderful thing. But
yeah, people are sketchy.
So,
and like, yeah, we only have a couple thousand followers now, but who's to say one video is not going to skyrocket us into a lot bigger of a following? And it's like, well, I'd rather start now and prepare for the bigger things to come than try to backtrack and have people, which something I did is when the kids were born, I grabbed each of their names on Instagram, first and last.
That's a great idea.
And then just make the account private. So that may be something since our kids have such unique names. I was like, well, I don't want someone to make an account with their first and last name.
That's a great idea. Any other thoughts on periods?
I think those are all of the main things. If you're having them, they're not normal. Please try
Periods are normal.
Periods are normal. You should be having a period every month. You should not be on the ground in public vomiting and crying. So
yeah,
please do some research. Even if you have a diagnosis of PCOS, don't just maybe take the doctor for everything they're saying. Look and try to see if you can find the reasons why. Yeah. Why do I have PCOS in the first place? Well, if they say it's genetic, well, why does my family genetics make me more prone to have this? Just keep digging because there's always answers somewhere. You just have to put in a little legwork yourself.
Yeah. And if you're like, that's, this is how I'm on birth control because I'm trying to prevent a pregnancy. There are other ways.
Yeah.
I think you use a Daisy too, don't you?
I paid $300 for one.
You haven't used it?
No. Well,
you've been breastfeeding.
I had been breastfeeding, which does not prevent pregnancy. So don't use that as a thing.
Yeah.
But for the Daisy to work, it's a basal temperature.
Yeah.
Basal thermometer. And they want you to take it after you've had a 3-hour stretch of sleep. Well, my kids are 2 and 4 and they've just started sleeping more than 3 hours. So I haven't slept longer than 3 hours in like 4.5 years now. But I didn't want it to give me inaccurate results because we're not ready for another baby yet. And I didn't want to like trust it fully.
Yeah.
It would
just give you yellow days all the time.
Yeah.
Is all it would do.
Yeah.
But before Leo, I used it for 3.5 years and it worked seamlessly. And then the second we wanted to get pregnant, we flipped it and it went great. So there's other ways.
Yeah. We were married for 5 years before we decided we were ready for a baby.
Same.
So, yeah. It's okay.
Wow. That 5-year mark.
Yeah.
Man. I would say that my uterus started longing for a child at the 2-year mark.
Mine too. But then
it was like the
Jacob
second
wasn't
2
ready
years, I was like,
yeah,
I feel empty inside. We should do a podcast on that.
Yeah, we should.
Because I feel like not
a natural instinct, which I wonder if that's because we're in tune with our systems, though. I wonder if someone who's on artificial birth control would have the same inclinations. I don't know, because I've not had a long enough stint with that to know. Yeah.
But yeah. If you have been having a gut feeling of like, maybe I should get this, birth control implant out of my arm or the IUD out, do it.
Yes.
You won't regret it.
Mm-hmm.
Take back your health because nobody cares for you like you can care for you.
Yeah.
So,
and there's other ways to prevent babies.
And it's actually ridiculously easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard. It's not that complicated. The more you learn about the different phases of the cycle, you cannot get pregnant every day of the month.
Yeah. And before you say things about like, well, my family are fertile myrtles. She's one of 7. I'm one of 5.
Yep.
My grandpa was one of 14. My grandma was one of 9. So, 14. Yeah. So we are both from.
Yeah, we are also fertile myrtles. So like,
myrtles.
Save it.
That's why when we say we want another baby, the husbands say, please get away from me. So
yeah.
But if you have any period questions, we're happy to answer, especially if you're younger, because we've been there. We've been there, and it wasn't that long ago. So,
just kidding. We're hella old. All right, we'll see you guys on next week's episode.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thanks for being with us today. Follow us on Instagram at underthesun_podcast. We'd love to meet you.
Please help us out by subscribing on YouTube and leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time. Please remember this information is made available to you for informational and educational purposes only. It is in no way a substitute for medical advice.